Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
Upset. I'm going to call her a trash hoe because she's telling millions of women that they should give up their right to vote. So I'm going to call her that because she is.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome to On Your Left with Drill Sergeant Doug, and of course, I'm Drill Sergeant Doug, and this is the political roundtable, the kind that doesn't suck. That means that we don't have people on here who just spit out talking points given to them by some faraway person in DC, even if they don't believe what they're saying. Everybody here must believe what they're saying. Point is, today, we decided that we're going to do what we did last week. Last week, we didn't even get close to finishing the conversation, the topic of these Christian nationalist Republican Party and the rise of the attack on women, women's reproductive rights, women's say in life, women's humanity, women's decision to be what and who they want to be. Even to educate themselves. It's gone too far. And now there's a crinkle, guys. Now there's a crinkle. After Graham Plattner, some are wondering, is it just the Republican Party that needs to look at this? I'll leave it there because we have amazing guests. Yes. Welcome to my amazing guests. I'm gonna reintroduce Nefertiti.
Hi.
To the group. How you doing, my friend?
I'm all right. Just trying to keep everything settled.
Okay, that's okay with me. And Chelsea, guys, good to see you again. You're on mute as it is. Wait, want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm ready. I just leave it on mute because I have kids hanging out in the background. I'm like,
there you go. Outstanding. So you heard the intro. You guys know what this is. Last week, Neff was with us, and we had another someone who was running for Congress in Connecticut. We may have a few people who's running join us today, but right now, this is good enough to start. Chelsea, go ahead. Go in. Talk about it. We'll get specific.
For everyone who's not aware, I was raised in a Christian fundamentalist cult known as the Mormons. I am very intimately familiar with right-wing Christian nationalism and also being raised in the patriarchy. The Mormon religion is extremely patriarchal, so much so that you can't even get into heaven if you don't have a husband, because that's how Jesus sees it in the Mormon religion. So
wait a minute, I feel like I
have a lot of insight into these Christian nationalists. I have a lot of insight into how they're trying to take away women's rights. And, of course, I have personal experience with what it's like to be raised in a religion that teaches you from a very young age that your only job in this life is to take care of a man. And those men, those Christian nationalist men are are they sure winning the battle right now? The Heritage Foundation has basically been running right-wing politics in the United States since the late 70s, early 80s, and we've been seeing them put their policies into place. Most notably, the removal of Roe v. Wade, which was 4 years ago on June 22nd. And they're going to continue to push anti-woman, anti-female narratives as long as we don't do anything to stop them. And if we're not talking about it, because really they're working on brainwashing these people from like a pretty young age. And you have to be brainwashed to be a Christian nationalist. And I know what that's like because I was a brainwashed Mormon until I was 18 years old. So I know what it's like to be raised in a religion that teaches you that women are beneath men. And it's our job as women to be pushing back on that and, you know, teaching young girls that they're worth more and they have more value than just being, you know, underneath a man their entire life. So that's sort of my introduction on my background, on what I understand about Christian nationalism, how I was personally affected by Christian nationalism and, you know, right-wing ideology in general, and also kind of what I'm trying to do in the real world to reverse the narratives that these Christian nationalists have placed on us.
And I knew that about your history and the background. I didn't know that the Mormon church said you can't go to heaven if you don't have a husband. That's new. Wow. Holy crap.
Get women to believe and obey you is to tell them that their entire soul rests on being with a man. So that's one way to keep people going to church, I guess.
Doesn't the Bible say that some people will not marry?
I mean, it's been a while since I've read the Bible. I wouldn't be super familiar with it. I mean, I remember some parts of the Bible, which, boy, do I love pulling out the parts I do remember. But I don't know if it would.
I'm pretty sure it literally says that some folks will not marry. So how do they have the gall to go against that book?
Yeah, but they go against the Bible all the time.
In fact, this thing here, this Christian nationalism. As for Mormons, I've had some interesting experiences. Had an ex-boyfriend and I walking down the street to Dudley Station, and they popped up out of nowhere. Apparently, they gave him the heebie-jeebies. I was shocked, and I actually saw a religion fight in Japan.
What?
Yes, it was. I was coming out of the train station to go to work, and right in front of the train station, there are some Mormons, some white male Mormons, and some female Japanese Jehovah Witnesses, and they're just yelling at each other. And I'm like, wow, a religion hilarious. Fight. It's like a game fight. It was hilarious.
You know what's funny about
believe
that?
It. Huh?
You know what's funny about that is that Jehovah's Witness and Mormonism were actually founded about 20 miles apart from each other during the exact same time period in American history.
Well, that kind of makes sense.
So Joseph Smith and whoever the founder of Jehovah's Witness was, they both came out of the exact same Great Awakening, and they literally were formed within 20 miles of each other in upstate New York in the exact same time period. So those two cults are actually so much more related than probably those people thought.
Yeah, my grandma was Jehovah's Witness. She died Muslim. I don't know. She went through some trips, because before then, I think she was Catholic. I've been raised Baptist my life. But as for, good grief, I think I forgot what I was going to say. The Jehovah's Witnesses. One thing I have noticed is with them abroad, they make sure the person knows English. Because I have been approached by so many Jehovah's Witnesses in Korea. And all of them are a little off and a little crazed in the eye. But they've always approached and spoke perfect English.
Yeah, it's always been really weird to me how even in these almost seemingly homogenous cultures where it's not like America or England or most other places in the West, the Asian places, Japan, Korea, China, that type of Asian, Eastern Asian, you see that it's not like they have a whole lot of differences. There's not a whole lot of differences in people. There's not a lot of black folks there. There's not a lot of Mexicans there. There's not a lot of, right? So, but somehow Christianity has found their way even to these places.
From what I understand, Korea has the second most amount of Christians other than America.
It couldn't be because we have U.S. bases there as well, could it?
And because it's like there's only two main religions there. There's Buddhism, which I didn't see that much of, and a lot of Christians.
Wow.
Now Japan and China, you see more variety.
Yeah.
Not so much of a stronghold, but Korea, yeah. They got a lot of, and if you want to get to English, you go to the church. Wow.
Well, that just like if you go to Africa, they got white Jesus on every mural. And that's not because they thought of it. There's a lot of English there as well. But I want to just go back to what you were saying for a second, Neff. Matthew 19:11. But Jesus said, not everyone is mature enough to live a married life. It requires a certain aptitude and grace. Marriage isn't for everyone. Some, from birth, seemingly never give marriage a thought. Others never get asked or accepted. And some decide not to get married for kingdom reasons.
I get asked by crazy people, so I'm not accepting that.
Right. And then it says, and some decide not to get married for kingdom reasons. That means you can choose to stay celibate or whatever, where
Well, I've been celibate since I was 27, and I'm 45.
Well, there you go. Maybe you're on the first boat to kingdoms. But
choice. I just got tired of the drama.
So here's the last piece. But if you're capable of growing into the largeness of marriage, do it. So I think that, like you said, Chelsea, pretty much there are so many things that just get overlooked if it doesn't fit your white male narrative of subjugation.
I never heard about that with the Mormons. I just knew that they were marrying a whole bunch of like partners and stuff. I did not know that you couldn't get in heaven unless you were married.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of these Christian, like very evangelical religions really focus heavily on marriage, because what they're trying to do is raise up young women to be mothers for men when they get older, and also be doormats for these men, right? Like they've raised these women from birth. And I say this a lot.
Oh, they're
there is nobody, there is nobody who talks about sex more than a Christian fundamentalist.
Yeah.
They talk about sex and genitalia more than any other person on the planet, and they take all of the fun out of it. Like all of the fun of those topics get removed by the Christian fundamentalists, right? But when I was little, I remember being particularly concerned that when my parents had their door shut, that they were going to be fornicating.
Oh no!
But can you imagine stress of like a 3 and 4, probably like a 4 or 5-year-old child, like being worried that their parents are having sex because you've been introduced to sex in such a negative way from the pulpit your entire life. And Mormonism does share this purity culture along with the evangelical movement of the United States, where they're like, sex is bad, pornography is bad. And they talk about it so much that it is a huge focal point of your life, even when you are a 4 and 5-year-old child. And I was worried about my own parents possibly consummating their marriage because I had been told how evil that act was. And, this leads to other problems when women get older, that they might like suffer from sexual dysfunction or depression when they actually do lose their virginity, even if they lose it in marriage. Like there are so many problems caused by this hyper focus on sex within the evangelical Christian nationalist movement. And I lived it firsthand. So I try and be a missionary for the other side. I try and be a reverse missionary as much as I can to teach people that being human is okay, that being a normal person is okay.
When I was 4, which is crazy because I actually was parent my mother made me grow up faster than that. Yes, that's what I was trying to say. So
I knew what you meant.
Strangely, I have another reason why I was crying at 4. I learned what layoff was.
Oh my God.
No 4-year-old should find that out.
Right.
But at the same time, I was raised by a single mother. She literally by choice told my dad, hey, I'm pregnant. You can be in her life if you want. He decided to just be a man with kids. He could have just walked away, but instead he just wanted to be kind of there for no reason. So I had a lot of maternal women in my life. I'm not really sure if I could say paternal, because the sad thing is that a lot of black women and black girls are raised almost in a masculine way. We have to take on so many masculine traits and things, so we don't have a choice but to be in the forefront when it comes to like the household and everything. And it's all about follow the Bible and do right, but also take care of work. So
but I told you that last time, like it's only thought of as masculine because it's black. There's a lot of women who are raised that way, right? And
when I say masculine, I actually really do mean masculine. Like when you go out to the work field, they want you to do the harder work. I've noticed that as well.
Yeah.
I went to go work as a process technician. All of a sudden, I'm doing things that weren't even built for my body size. I have carpal tunnel now because of that. That's what I mean by masculine. They just, it's literally, we're put in these positions rather than what we are probably where we would excel in somewhere else. You understand?
Yeah, I got you. Oh man, so here's the thing though. Being raised a certain way, this comes back to when I'm talking about the framework of Christian nationalism and the right wing. How many of you saw this? And I'm trying to find the perfect clips here. Like what was it? The CPAC or CPTPUSA were in a women's conference. What women's conference was this? Where the women were basically the worst of the misogynists. Like you could tell, like this internalized misogynism is it. How much are they? How much are they needed to be a part of this for this to work? Because it seems like just like you need a house N-word in order to be able to completely control the slaves, you need some of these women, and I'm going to show a clip in a second. I just want to get you guys. But what do you think about that, Chelsea? That idea that how much do you actually need that in order to even make this work?
I think right-wing women are infinitely worse than right-wing men. Because if you're a right wing man, it makes perfect sense to me. You get to be in charge of everything. You're the head of household. When you do something wrong, you get to have a conversation with your imaginary dad. Your imaginary dad tells you everything's fine. Your wife has to obey you. Your children have to obey you. It makes perfect sense to me in that power dynamic why a man would choose to be Christian, right? That makes perfect sense because it is a beneficial power dynamic for men. Now, women, in order to fall in line in this power dynamic, have to be brainwashed. They have to be brainwashed from a very young age to hate themselves and to hate other women. And I saw it. Like I saw it as a Mormon that one of the things that they do is they constantly like make you compete against other women, not only for the affection of men, but also like in general. They're always like ranking who's the most pious woman. So I actually do fully believe that conservative women are infinitely worse than conservative men because they have to hate themselves. They have to hate other women. And then they have to, participate in a system that actually doesn't give them any benefit at all. And a lot of these women find out in their 30s and 40s when their husbands leave them or cheat on them or something real life happens to them. And they find out that giving up their entire existence for a man and for a family was actually very detrimental to their progress as a human being. And you'll notice that at those conferences, they don't have a lot of women in their 40s and 50s and 60s talking, but they sure always have a lot of women in their 20s. And that's because the women in their 20s haven't experienced that slap of real life yet, which is that you've given up your existence for a man. That man didn't give up his existence for you. He owns your house. He owns all of your money. You didn't go to college, and he's going to leave you with those kids, and you're not going to have child support. And this is not just some like hypothetical scenario. This is the scenario that happens to women over and over and over again. And as an ex-Mormon,
not just the right side, it also happens on the left side as well. Because growing up even in the Black community, you could feel competition with another girl, and it's like, why are we competing? I think it's more of like,
that's patriarchy, right? That's the patriarchy, right? Teaching women that we're in competition with each other. Like, so, we're not in competition with other women.
Exactly.
Let me introduce Let me introduce who just came in. We have Maria Elena Kinter from Florida, 7th District, who's running to be a progressive candidate, who's also a veteran, who also doesn't take PAC money, who does all the things that you have to do in order to get on this show as a candidate. Let me let her introduce herself real quick. Maria Elena, what's going on?
Hi, thank you guys for inviting me on, and I'm happy to be here. I'm Maria Elena Kinter. I am a Navy veteran, former mechanic and nuclear reactor supervisor, and I am running not just to be a progressive candidate, but to be a representative for every single working class person in Central Florida, to stand up against whether they're progressive, conservative, MAGA, moderate, establishment Democrat, anyone who's trying to attack the working class, trying to worsen the material lives for anybody across the nation and in Central Florida, for families who are just trying to survive. And thank you guys for having me on.
Outstanding. So listen, there is absolutely no better way to represent exactly what it is that we're talking about when we say someone who was a mechanic, nuclear nuclear reactor supervisor, right? This goes against all the things that everybody in this Christian nationalist bullcrap wants to show. Like, you're not smart enough. We're trying to get women in math, trying to get women to play drums, what I teach. The actual socialization of women is so complete that you actually believe that you're not going to succeed in these things, and we need more people like Marilena Kinter to show, like, yeah, we can do that. We can do that, and still be a woman, whatever that means to you. So I'm gonna play this little bit, and I'm gonna go straight to you, Maria Elena, afterwards to get your response.
Groom these people to be the next generation of the fake conservative controlled opposition voices,
that part,
who are naive and narcissistic. They just want to be influencers. They don't know anything. And so they'll prop them up and put them in these positions, put millions and millions of dollars behind them.
Marriage. Every movie, every TV show, all of the media you see does not portray healthy marriages. It portrays domineering women with weak and passive husbands.
You mean like you?
I wish I could just find her alone. I was trying to forever and couldn't do it.
I want to talk about her specifically.
Go ahead, please.
So I've done a show with her. I've met her in person.
What? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I want to talk about her. I'm going to talk trash about that hoe right now.
Let's do it, please.
I did a show with her. I did the Dr. Daff show. It was feminist versus anti-feminist. So if anyone's interested in finding the full show that I've done, it's Dr. Daff, feminist versus anti-feminist. Let's watch the clip and then I'll talk about this trash hoe.
Okay, yeah.
3rd,
I'll put it on.
2024.
I'm so sorry.
My husband and I had just gotten married a couple months.
What do you need? Come on, I'll take it off. You talk to me.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry, but I don't think it's absolutely okay to call her a trash hoe.
There we go.
I'm going to call her a trash hoe. Like, you're welcome to police yourself, but this is not the place for you to do that. And you're going to find out really fast that I'm not the kind of person who accepts that. I'm going to call her a trash hoe because she's telling millions of women that they should give up their right to vote. So I'm going to call her that because she is. And it's fine that you don't want to be associated with that. But like, I am who I am. I'm going to talk the way that I talk. And I want this girl to know how much I freaking hate her. And I've met her in person. So I have a little bit more insight into who she is than any person on this panel. Like,
I'm fine with you saying she's a bad
yourself
person.
from my language. Like, I'm serious right now when I tell you that you will not be policing my language, and Doug knows as well as I do that I'm not going to accept it.
It's all right. Let me hear Maria Elena. There we go. Maria Elena speak.
I don't agree with what she's saying. I don't agree with her ideology, but by calling somebody a trash hoe, we are perpetuating that anti-feminist nature. And feminism is the idea that all women should be able to pursue something. By the implication of a hoe automatically just degrades a woman. And I think it perpetuates calling somebody, saying they have bad ideas, calling them trash is one thing, but degrading the hoe factor is what we're talking about here. And so I'm not trying to police what you're saying. I'm saying that I'm not interested in perpetuating that derogatory language about another woman. You can have bad ideas and you can have all of these things, and not everyone's a good person, but that's different than saying specifically that they're a trash hoe. Which again,
I also call Seth a trash hoe.
Hold on, my
turn. For just women. I will call anybody a trash hoe who is a trash hoe. Pete Hegseth, also a trash hoe. This woman, also a trash hoe. So it's not just for women. And clearly I'm a feminist, like through and through. I literally, that's my biggest platform, is that I'm a feminist. People know me online as being a very staunch feminist. Like that's I understand for you, that's an issue. It's not an issue for me. I'm going to keep calling men, women, whoever I want, a trash hoe, because that's how I talk and it's just how I am. I don't like the idea of policing other people's language. I never police other protesters. I never police other activists because that's just not my position in this world. Like, you're welcome to distance yourself from me. That's fine. I'm not.
No, well, wait a minute. Hold on. It's my turn. My turn.
I'm going to call Savannah Stone a trash hoe. I'm also going to call her husband a closet little ninny pants boy. I'm going to call her husband that too.
You're about to get in. My turn. So I'm not going to say anything about you saying what you want to say. I'm also not going to say anything about her saying what she wants to say. And it wasn't policing, but both sides. But what she represented there, what she said there, is also as important to say as calling this woman a trash hoe, because I don't mind that either. So I don't take it as policing, but that's what this whole roundtable is about. That she felt like that needed to be said because that is also to be represented here by her. Can I get that? That makes sense too?
No, it totally makes sense. I'm just saying, cool. why I'm not going to change my language and why I don't have a problem with it. In fact, I'm very intentional in the language that I use when I communicate with the masses, because I know what kind of language is able to cut through the noise and that people will be paying attention and listen to. For instance, when I'm talking about Donald Trump, I say that he F's kids instead of rapes children. Now, why would I say that? Because I happen to know that people think that the F word is much more inflammatory than saying rape. So, I'm very intentional in the language that I use, whether it seems that way or not. But Savannah Stone, I did a show with her and I had a conversation with her in the green room behind scenes. And I was like, so,
want me to wait till after we play that? Want to wait till after we play the thing before you say that?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Play the clip. Roll the clip.
Allow me to share with you some quotes from our feminist icons. Shula Smith Firestone: the end goal of feminist revolution must be the abolition of the nuclear family. Sharon Stone: the more famous and powerful I get, the more power I have to hurt men. Sally Miller Gearhart: the proportion of men must be reduced to and maintained at approximately 10% of the human race. Psychologists and professors.
You
don't quote the actress Sharon Stone when you're looking for famous.
So what I want to find out is the part where she's telling people not only that, because we got to talk about all three of those, but with the part.
Let's go back to the garden, shall we?
Where she's talking about babies.
Your happiness is the most important.
Even if you can't afford it.
Media.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Turning Point USA is pushing that narrative.
I can't take any more of that. I hope that people have heard.
So Turning Point USA is pushing that narrative really hard right now. One of the things that we've learned from Elon Musk's baby mama, Ashley St. Clair, is that all of these people are involved in group chats where they are told the talking points from the top down. So from the White House's communication department on down, they are told exactly what the narrative they need to be sending out there is. So Turning Point USA is part of the cogs in this machine. And one of the platforms of Turning Point USA right now is to tell young women, because of course they've got to catch them when they're young, because that's before your prefrontal cortex has developed at 25. They got to catch them young. That girl was saying, I got married at 18. Isn't that such a good idea? No, America, that's actually a terrible idea. Why don't you ask me about it? I was a child bride. It's a terrible idea. It never works out. It's never good for women. It's never good for anybody. It only ever works out for the men. And what I want to say about Savannah Stone, I did a show with her. I was in the green room with her. And in that clip later on, she goes on to not only to encourage young women to get married too young and encourage them to have children that they can't afford, which P.S., she doesn't even have kids.
Right.
She doesn't even have children. She has the audacity to tell other people that they need to be having as many kids as possible, as soon as possible, and more children than they can humanly afford. And she personally has made the choice for herself to not have children. Like, that is the biggest hypocrisy of these women, is that they're telling people to do something that they themselves are absolutely not doing. She is prioritizing her career. What is she doing all the time? She's popping up on every single podcast she can be a part of. She's doing her own little show. She's getting paid from Turning Point USA. She's showing up on the shows that I'm doing, on debate panels and things. She is doing everything possible to further her career. She is a career woman, whether she wants to say so or not. She does not have children. She has made a conscious decision to not have children right now so that she can continue furthering her career. And while she is using that career to tell women not to do the thing that she is doing. If she wanted to do that, then she should go, put her money where her mouth is. And instead of just using your words, then use your actions to make your words speak louder. She is not doing what she's telling other people to do. And that girl had the audacity to tell me in the green room, behind the scenes, at the Dr. Daff show, on the Feminists versus Anti-Feminists, which, again, if anyone wants to see that, just Google it, find it on YouTube. And she told me that it was just a joke from the right wing that they want to take away women's rights to vote. Well, in that exact speech that you just showed us a clip of, she went on to say that women shouldn't have the right to vote and that we should be voting as a family unit, which, by the way, is another Turning Point USA talking point. And it actually is coming out of a bunch of Christian fundamentalist pastors, including that one huge fat Santa Claus ass looking slob who's Pete Hegseth's pastor, who just came out and said that, and has been saying the exact same thing, that women don't have the right to vote. So what are the narratives that these people from Turning Point USA are throwing onto America's young women? Number one, have more children than you can afford, get trapped into a marriage, even if you don't have any money. Well, that's going to keep women subjugated because you can't escape if you have no money. You can't escape. You can't go anywhere if you have no money. And then the other thing they're telling them is that you should vote as a family unit. And that is to take away women's right to vote. They want to take away women's right to vote because women don't vote conservative.
Okay.
And this woman, Savannah Stone, which that's a liberal use of the term woman because she's like 21, 22 years old.
Okay.
Told me behind the scenes that it's a joke. She told me behind the scenes that it's a joke, but she gets up on that Turning Point USA stage and she tells women that they shouldn't have the right to vote. Well, she tells me behind the scenes that it's a joke.
It's a joke
so that's
for
why
her
she's a trash show and she can, suck my knob.
Got you. But it's a joke because she knows that she's not going to follow that at all. It is a joke to her. It's all a big joke to make some more money. I'd like to know what Maria Elena thinks about this whole idea, the original question. How much is this necessary in order to even get women to be behind this? Because I'm the only guy on this panel, which is the exact way I wanted it. I'm shocked when I hear women saying, have more babies than you can afford. When I hear women saying, we don't need to vote. And especially when I see the type of women that they put up on that stage are not the women that they're telling these other women to be. These guys are CEOs, they're making money, and it's obvious to me what they're doing. And I tend to believe that if they weren't there, it would be much harder to keep this up. What say you?
I definitely don't agree with the rhetoric. I don't agree with their message. That's why I am running a political campaign. That's why I'm pushing for change. I'm advocating. I'm participating in community education, community outreach. I believe that young women, even regardless of their age, young women deserve the right to be educated. They don't deserve indoctrination, whichever side that looks like. I'm 27. I don't have kids. I got married young. I think there's a lot of different ways. I got married when I was, it was 2020. So 6 years ago when I was 21, still with my husband. We don't have children. I believe that the way somebody wants to live their life is entirely up to them. And part of political advocacy is ensuring that and ensuring they have the right to choose. But education is very important in that and critical in that. And the way that we discuss and the way that we talk and the way that we educate the community is very, very, very important at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. So I need to find this out. Number one, to me, what I am in charge of, what I'm responsible for, is trying my hardest to ensure that men realize the patriarchy that exists. Right? That men realize the power that has come from being a man, the privilege that has come from having only men presidents for 250 years, the privilege that has come from having the vast majority of people in power, in Congress, in policing, and in every place of power and legal institutions being men. I need to know what is the responsibility of the other side in ensuring that, because I know, Chelsea, you say that she's absolutely ridiculous. She's a hoe. She's a such and such. More importantly, she's paid and she's being noticed. And how big is her role, and how big should other women like you's role be in stopping this? How big can it be? What can we do to make that role bigger if I had a choice, or if it was up to me?
Well, isn't that a serious thing that this woman will change her opinion based on how she's being paid? Because I've had a conversation with her personally where she said, no, there's nobody who's actually trying to take away women's right to vote. And there she is on the Turning Point USA stage being the woman saying, hey, women shouldn't have the right to vote. Think about like how easily bought these people are. Their lack of moral fiber is evident in their everyday interactions, because I talked to her personally behind the scenes just a few months ago, and now here she is on a Turning Point USA stage being paid to tell young women that they shouldn't have the right to vote. And by the way, we shouldn't normalize that conversation at all. In fact, that was sort of my big thing at the feminist versus anti-feminist debate, is I was like, I don't like to normalize these conversations because there's not a debate on whether a woman is human and whether she should have a right to vote. There's not a debate. It's not debatable. We're not debating that. It's a human rights issue. Women are human. They deserve a right to vote. That's nothing more than that. Like, I don't like normalizing these kinds of conversations because that's actually us shifting the Overton window, right? Is we're shifting what is considered an acceptable conversation to have in society. Well, I don't think that it's acceptable to be talking about whether women should have the right to vote or not, because of course they do. They're human. There are no good countries.
Go ahead.
There are no good countries where women's rights get rolled back. You know, if women's rights get rolled back, then your country sucks. That's how simple it is.
Yeah, anybody's rights gets rolled back, and that's including women. Women seem to be the easiest to roll back, besides just black people, and then of course at the very top, black women, where they get the double dose. In Florida, what is that sentiment like? How far is this really gone? Is this just a weird internet thing that I'm seeing, and to make people rage is a rage bait? Or is this something like a movement you're actually seeing, Marilena?
I think this movement primarily exists online. That's why and the way that they're doing it, being inflammatory, derogatory, saying these absurd things and then us reacting to it the same, is furthering that division. And that's what brings it into reality. They should be treated like, if they're saying it's a joke, they should be treated like a joke. By having this inflammatory, divisive reaction, we are giving them validity. We are perpetuating, we are platforming them. We are, when we do these things, when we call them these names and we have these crazy reactions to them, we are giving them the platform that they want. We are the reason they are getting paid. It's the same with what's her name? Kayla Bennett. She gets these wild reactions on her live stream, and that's what gets them paid. We're giving them validity. We're making them martyrs. We're making them, and that's what puts this into conversation. What's really happening nationwide is people are leaving from the extremists, are fractioning, and they're coming back to normalcy and realizing there's no path forward for the working class. And that's why I think that the way we talk about it and how we discuss, coming from a completely male-dominated field in the military, when you argue emotion with emotion, you're just going to strengthen their argument. You're just going to push more people towards them when you argue their high emotion and their lack of logic with actual logic and fact and respect and basis and analytics and backing. And again, that's coming from nuclear power and coming from a male-dominated field. That's how you win that argument, when you come with the receipts, when you come with factual information. But until we do that, we are giving them their platform. We are them that. And so it's super important.
To make sure. So even in Ron DeSantis's Florida, you're not seeing any of that movement show up anywhere else but online.
Yes, I'm not seeing it. And I am in Republican areas. I am going to Republican forums. I am participating at the Veterans of Foreign Wars, which I am a member of, where there are people who across the political spectrum, and even the Republican women I'm talking to out here, do not want to lose their vote. They think that the people who are doing this are the extremists. They think the people that are doing this are harmful to the nation, to the unity, to American values, to whatever they think. In real life, in reality, people are concerned about the cost of living, senior citizens rationing their medication. They're not debating if women should be able to vote or not. These are extremists. And we need to prevent them from having a root in reality by making it seem exactly like what it is. Unserious people having unserious conversations inside of an echo chamber.
So here's what I say. Neff, let you speak before I give mine on that. Do you have anything to say about this?
Well, for me, being a black woman, I mean, like I said before, we already have to deal with fighting for our femininity because, and I also agree with can I call you Maria, please?
You can call me Kinter.
Okay, Hinter. Yeah, I was in the Navy as well. So believe me, right now I'm in veteran rehab. I'm studying cybersecurity. That is not a feminine. That's a very male-dominated one as well. And for me, like I said before, and I say it all the time, I was raised by my mother and my grandmother. My mother was more masculine anyway. She grew up a tomboy. Down south, we basically don't have time to be feminine because of the way we've been raised all the way from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean when I say we're raised almost masculine, because of the fact that we don't have time. I mean, I literally had this conversation with my friend and I said, I really want a soft moment. I want to be able to be feminine. I want someone else to take care of me instead of me taking care of everything and everybody else. I mean, I literally have my family on my back, and I didn't even feel like I had the option to say I'm going to go home. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, them trying to take any kind of rights from anybody is wrong. I don't understand why people are so focused on trying to police other people when they can't even live their own lives right. And I also want to say, I feel no kind of ways that jerk is gone. I'm just waiting for the turtle to go. I cannot hear you, sir. There you go.
No, I hear you. No, I had my mic turned off. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Now that we've kind of covered, I personally think that hearing what Maria Elena has to say in Florida, hearing the online perspective versus the offline perspective, I also know that at one point it was fringe and ridiculous and stupid to get rid of Black history in school. I also know it was fringe and stupid and ridiculous to elect anyone like a Trump, to put up a wall. I know it was fringe and ridiculous and stupid and just ignorable, not worth platforming to and if you get the drift, I could just continue on to get rid of the Voting Rights Act for Black folks, right? Like, for me, having a conversation like this and hearing that side of it, it gives me a whole lot of hope. And immediately after having that hope, Maria Elena, it's immediately after having that hope, my initial next thought was, do we let it fester? Do we not talk about it? Like, because then it becomes that's the thing that they have been pushing on and pushing on and pushing on for so long, until it becomes something that grows into something you can't stop. Like, how can we tell that difference? Where is that difference? Where is that line?
So we definitely talk about it, but the way that we talk about it matters a lot. Nobody wants to, one, be treated like they're stupid. Nobody wants to be treated like, and if you're genuinely just upset, that's fine. But if you want to educate and improve the system and you want to educate and improve young women, we can't be perpetuating this derogatory nature and this derogatory conversation and saying that the patriarchy is bad as we tear down women ourselves and saying you're less than me if you don't think the way that I think, because you're never going to educate anybody. And it could be that I come from a very factual, analytical background, but the way that you combat misinformation is by true information. And it sounds shocking because we haven't had logic or factual information in our politics in a seemingly very long time. And we have far-right extremists who almost solely platform themselves and campaign themselves on these last-ditch derogatory, inflammatory, divisive, hateful rhetoric. And the way that we get rid of that isn't by meeting it with that same thing. It's by making unapologetic, logically based choices and reversing it and saying, you guys can't handle being in office, and you can't because you are emotionally driven. You lack integrity. You lack the spine, the willpower, the emotional intelligence, the factual of your argument. And here's how we prove that by showing that women where they say women do this, women have this percentage of lower income, Black women have this much higher percentage of maternal and death during childbirth and after childbirth, and recovering and meeting it with factual information that they cannot argue. When you meet emotion with emotion, it just martyrdoms them. It just gives them something to campaign and something to feed off of and something to profit off of. We have to meet that with unapologetically correct information that is undeniable. And being in Florida, being in a place where there are extremists on just living and going day to day and knocking on their doors, those are the arguments that win. And those are the arguments that get them to, they transform. And we have Republicans volunteering on our campaign because we met them with actual information and didn't call them stupid and a bunch of names, but said, no, this is actually why you are feeling these stresses. And this is why. And it's extremely important right now. People are only, and I mean this genuinely, people are concerned about their families, their livelihoods, and you have to relate it back to them. When you're talking to a young woman and you're proving that they can have a future and you're proving that they should be able to vote and that their voice and vote in education is important, we have to approach it from that viewpoint. We will never convince young women that they should not have only a man vote for them if we're taking away their opinion and we're taking away their voice. We have to educate them and bring them up.
All right, so this is go ahead, Chelsea.
I don't know what you want me to say here.
So,
Obviously, I have a different approach to things. I do fully believe that people on the left need to be controlling the media narrative. I think that we need to be meeting people on the right the exact same way that they've been meeting us. I think that we've had nobody on the left who's been able to hit back at people on the right. We haven't had any celebrity kind of people on the left. I mean, whether you believe it or not, controlling the media narrative is actually how you win this battle. And I've been very successful at it. I have people write me all the time who are like, hey, I started listening to you just because I thought you were pretty funny, even if I didn't agree with you. And now I see what you're saying makes sense to me. Like, everyone's going to have a different approach. I think that for very long, we actually approached this with kid gloves. Right? I think for very long that we were like patient, kind. We were hoping that people would come back from the edge. We were hoping that the cult that we see forming around Donald Trump would just end itself. I know that I thought that it would have ended itself in 2020, 2021 when all that thing with January 6th happened, and it didn't end itself. Like, I was nice, I was kind, I was cordial, I was meeting them halfway for a very long time. And I think for me, I think that was the wrong approach. I think reproaching them publicly, being rude to them is actually very, very effective. And I see it in my own personal self. Again, I'm not suggesting this is for everyone, because what am I? I am a disruptor professionally. I'm a social disruptor. I'm a political activist. I'm a comedian. I'm loud. I'm brash. I'm out there in the public being rude to people's faces. And I enjoy it because for so long, we were actually trying to be so nice to them. And I actually think that's what's wrong with traditional Democrats in general, is that they're like, oh, what if I did a strongly worded letter? What if I did this the way that things used to be done? Well, we can't operate in the way that things used to be done because, as Doug pointed out, the Overton window has shifted and we would never have had Donald Trump as president 20 years ago. We have Donald Trump as president now. He's a monster. He's a terrible human being. A lot of people who follow him are actually in a cult where they worship him as their God, you know? Like, what we're up against is much more serious than what I think people think we're up against. I don't think that meeting people with logic, facts, and kindness is working for me personally. I think that we kind of are past that time. And again, these conversations may only be happening online, but that was the same kind of conversations we were seeing when it came to the overturn of Roe v. Wade. And now here we are, 4 years later, women are dying. They are dying in Florida. They're dying in Texas. They're dying in Georgia. They're dying. And it's because we didn't take these conversations that they were having seriously. It is now happening. The Heritage Foundation, Turning Point USA, billions of dollars behind these companies. And we are not the ones perpetuating them. We are not, because they are getting billions of dollars, not from us. They are getting it from billionaires on the right. They're getting it from people on the right. Okay. We are not the reason why they have their platforms. They have their platforms because they have so much money to inject into those platforms. So what we need to be doing on our side, and what I do, because this is what I do as who I am, is that I try and meet them where they meet us, right? They're going to be inflammatory. I'm going to be inflammatory too. I want to be like the exact opposite of what we see as a Nick Shirley. I want to be the exact opposite of that because I'm trying to win in the internet era.
And in order to win in the internet era, well, I need to grab people's attention. I need to be a little more brash. I need to be a little more internet out there and a little bit more feisty. And again, I'm not suggesting that this is for everyone. I'm telling you why I do things the way I do, why I know it's effective, and why I know it's changing things. And I know it's working because I have 250,000 followers on Facebook. I didn't have anybody help me do any of that. I know it's working because people are looking for someone to cut through all of the bullshit and just be honest and brash about it. And, again, different strokes for different folks. Everyone has a different way of approaching things. But I actually think that we were too kind to them for too long. And it's our job to make sure that we just cut off that cancerous arm, because I don't think they're coming back. I think they're in a cult. And I think the only way people detransition from a cult, having been in a cult myself, is that they do it themselves. And in the meantime, these people who are members of a cult are a literal cancer who are destroying the country.
Okay, so I want to pivot because I think we've kind of got all the meat out of that we can. If somebody hasn't learned something or come our way with something big from that conversation and that discussion, then I can't help you. That was awesome. I want to pivot from the rhetoric of it. I want to pivot from how we approach it, language wise, or how we talk about it, to how do we help to fix this moment legislatively. Last time when we had this discussion, I had Joe, I'll make sure I edit his name in there, from Connecticut. He was running for Connecticut's 4th district, I believe. And he said, legislatively, there needs to be an amendment in the Constitution. Amendment in the Constitution, and he was talking about, of course, abortion, right? And there's other rights that need to be codified and made no more of a big deal. I like that, of course. Then I also remembered that so was the voting rights. So was citizenship, what do you call it? Birthright citizenship, which they happen to uphold. But legislatively, or something more concrete than just a discussion and trying to motivate the masses through words, the deeds. I'd love to know, do you have any ideas on legislatively how to combat this anti-women movement that's going on right now, Marilena?
Absolutely. One, I agree that strongly worded letters are not enough, which is why we have this rash of candidates, including myself, who are pushing for actual legislative action, because that's how you change things. Mm-hmm. Strongly worded letters will never be enough. And that's how we slide further and further into extremism and fascism, and having actual legislation that needs to be introduced, because no matter what an opinion is, without action, it's useless. And without actual community organizing that has material results that improve people's lives, opinions are meaningless as well, to that extent, towards actual improvement. And one piece of legislation is codifying reproductive health care, because a lot of people call it women's health care, but we need to just call it what it is, reproductive health care. Health care happens between a patient and a trained, licensed medical professional. And a failure to ensure that access to any type of health care is guaranteed. That's how we get people going to places and getting hurt and killed from unprofessional abortions. When we restrict the rights of somebody to see a licensed medical practitioner, they're going to seek out their healthcare themselves, and they're going to do it in unsafe manners, unsanitary manners that result in death. And by forcing people to do that, we are perpetuating that and introducing legislation to secure people their access to their healthcare without government involvement, besides to ensure that they don't bankrupt their entire family. We have people who are working 40 to 60 hours a week and doing every single thing they can, sunrise to sunset, to provide for their family. And then if they need reproductive healthcare or healthcare of any time, their family is completely ruined for it. And so codifying women's healthcare, reproductive healthcare as just healthcare in general and making it protected is extraordinarily important, including the confidentiality, as well as stopping this manhunt that we have in states where you can report somebody for suspicion of reproductive care and have them be fined, you receive a reward, have them be fined, and turns it into a literal manhunt for sport, for reward, for turning against your neighbor. And that aspect is also critically important. And the way that we do that is by getting more women into office, getting people who have the ability to create meaningful impact through legislation, electing people who aren't afraid to put their name on a bill. We have people who refuse to put their name in a bill because they're afraid it's going to hurt them on re-election or popularity. We need to vote people in on morals, not on profitability, which is what we're seeing in establishment candidates. The establishment is too concerned about if they're going to have a good profit margin on investment and on donations instead of the actual willingness and success of the people.
Wow. Very true. I almost forgot about that manhunt that that what's going on in Texas now. And these are state laws, so I don't even know what you can even do nationally about it. But we need some ideas. So there's something else. And I'm going to end it on this side because this is something that I tried not to do on this roundtable. I tried to face the most important things that are facing us. And in doing so, that's going to end up almost always being the fascist Nazi party that's trying to destroy our lives, get rid of citizenships, R-word children, and kill brown people, if not deport them, and use them as slaves. That's just, it's hard to get more important than that. But this time, with what happened to Graham Plattner, I'm finally I'm going to have to say something about this party that I openly and without, care what anybody thinks, obviously platform on this channel and on this roundtable. And it's not that Republicans aren't allowed to come here, but you're not allowed to come here if you're just going to spit talking points and you don't believe them, right? So anyway, the point is, we're here. Plattner has opened up a window into a problem that all sides have. And once again, when the first woman came, she was a Republican, and it wasn't that big a deal. When the second woman came, well, she was a plant or whatever. It wasn't that big a deal. All the same people who said believe women found a reason not to. And then when the last woman came, because she's a Democrat and so I guess she's believable, all of a sudden he has to go. So there's two issues here. Number one, if y'all had listened to black people in the beginning, you wouldn't have to even worry about any of this, because we told you the red flags were there from the cut of his jib, and not to mention the Nazi tattoo, and then the tipping, and then the egregious way that he speaks about violence nonchalantly. I've been in the military, so has Mary Elena. You know the ones who enjoy the violence too much. Black folks were on it from day one, not listened to, shunned away. And number two, the obvious dichotomy of who to believe. On the left, I don't know how else to say that. And I open the floor up to all of these women here who are on the left to say what they feel about that which I just said.
Well, I think the first solution, in my opinion, is to just have more women running for office as opposed to men. That'll solve a lot of our problems right there. You want to not have rapists running for office? Well, start putting women in positions of power. I'm not saying that women aren't rapists, but boy, they do it a hell of a lot less.
Yeah,
they do it a lot less. If we had more, like, obviously, I am sporting the vote with your kitty meow meow shirt. I mean that. Like, I vote with women in mind. I vote with my body in mind. And I think that would have been the solution right there. Is like find progressive women to run for these positions, right? Like that's the solution. I think that there's some nuance when it comes to Graham Plattner. Do I believe women? Yeah, I do. I read all the articles. I read the New York Times article, and I didn't see it as many red flags because I was under the impression that maybe Israel was doing this, which they probably are. And even still, he probably sucks as a person, and I'm happy to hold his feet to the fire. I actually think most men are awful behind closed doors. Like, I'm not saying you are, but I personally have a belief system that a lot of men have a lot of skeletons in their closet. A lot of men. And is that because of a system of patriarchy? Sure. But the real solution to this would be like let's get women in power. Let's let women start taking over. There's clearly not enough women. 51% of the population is women, and what percentage of Congress and what percentage of the Senate is women? Is it like 20%? It's like 20%. It might be less.
I'll look it up.
There's a solution right there. Yeah, I'd be interested to see. I think that's the solution. Is we want to avoid these kind of things. Well, let's start taking women a lot more seriously and stop platforming so many men. What do you think? Vote with your kitty meow meow. That's just an idea.
I like it. Other thoughts? Your
Can I
voice.
say something?
Yeah, your mic was off. Marilyn, go ahead, Neff.
For me
You're next,
personally,
Marilyn.
I just feel like we need more progressive people in general, because there are some jerks over on the left side that are just as racist as the ones on the right side as well as just as much patriarchal as they are on the right, because for her to come from a cult and me to come from somewhere else, and we both still have to experience competition from other females when we're not even trying to be out there like, hey, I've been basically celibate on my choice alone for this many years. I know anybody could get somebody. I've chosen not to. That's my choice. And like I told you before, I come from a line of very strong women to the point where they have basically domineered males. Mm-hmm. I'm all in support for people like Jasmine Crockett and with that kind of tenacity. But at the same time, I'm old school, so I'm kind of with Kittner. It's all about decorum as well, because sometimes they can get you in a trap and then they'll use it against you. Even though you have that lion spirit, lions can get caught in traps as well. That's all I got to say. I'm out.
Okay. You're next.
Okay, perfect. I thought it might have frozen. I agree in getting women into office and getting especially strong women who aren't afraid of the fight and aren't afraid to introduce legislation and actually control the outcome and control the narrative is extremely, extremely important. I see that you pulled up the statistic right here that women account for 28 to 29% of lawmakers, despite being 1% of the population and being just as affected and having the majority of men in office make regulations specific to women and specific to young girls and children especially. And we have them controlling the narrative and controlling that. And it's extremely important. I mean, we have races here in Florida where we're being told that it'll be a strong woman against a man, against another man candidate, and establishment backing the men because they think that women aren't marketable. And that's within our own party. And that continues and exasperates that issue when our own party and establishment says that even though the woman is the stronger candidate, and this is going on in a number of races across the nation, just nationwide, where we have strong women running for office, fantastic candidates with the qualifications, the experience, the policy to win. And we have our party and our establishment saying that they aren't as marketable as a man just because they are a man, perpetuates that. And so I completely agree.
How much of that is, and I'm directing it specifically to you, how much of that is because after trying to run the most qualified woman in the history of the fucking planet, and the maybe the second most would be Hillary, but the most is definitely Kamala, who was vice president, and then realizing that she lost to an orange clown who can't put his makeup on right and still has a pee bag and acts like he doesn't, is how much of that comes down to realizing that maybe we're not ready. Maybe they're just not ready. I think that they're freaking scared because when they saw that, they were like, can any woman win?
I think saying people rounding it up to just we're not ready is what perpetuates it. It's what allowed the Democratic establishment to say we can't have this because men are more marketable, and chalking it up to and not meeting that argument head on and saying why. Show me proof. Show me. We're letting them control the narrative by just saying hey, yeah, maybe women aren't marketable. Maybe the nation's not ready for it. The nation is ready for it because we have the proof and the backing. We have women leading our military. We have women who are just in command, who are making the right decisions, but we're just accepting on a public basis that they aren't marketable because the nation's not ready. And that just perpetuates it. The nation is ready because this election is going to determine if people live or die. We don't have a chance for the nation to not be ready. We are.
Open floor.
I would also like to go on record and say that I feel very certain that Kamala won. I might be an election denier. You can put me in that category, but I do fully believe that the richest man in the world had his hands in our election, and there are enough anomalies for me to think that he probably overturned several elections. There are some places in Florida where more people voted than were registered to vote. So I just want to go on record saying that I do think that Kamala actually had a ton of support. We saw how many people showed out for her. We saw what her rallies look like versus Donald Trump's rallies. We saw it. We saw with our own eyes the excitement behind her campaign. And I do fully believe that there was a little bit of nefarious foul play in the background going on with billionaires who run our country, which obviously we know the billionaires are the problem. I think all of us know here that the billionaires are the problem. I do think women are the future. I do think that Kamala won. I fully believe that she won, and put me in the election denier box. I'll accept it.
Got you. I got you on that.
I absolutely agree with her. And as I guess an influencer, if I'm that, I also want to point out that this is, I put that indigenous because I'm also part Natchez, which no longer exists anymore. I really feel like I also try to keep account on a lot of those supposedly pro-black celebrities. Like I haven't gotten my foot off of Nicki Minaj's neck yet.
No, never.
That's what I'm saying, because it's just like 92%. I told you I was homeless at that time, and I still drove 2 hours. At that time, the VA was getting me in to the system, but I drove 2 hours to vote for her. And when I found out he won, I mean, I left the country the first time he won. I didn't come back until there was a year left. I went to China.
There you go.
And here he is. I wish I could have left again, but I don't have the money right now because he done screwed up everybody. I'm one of I'm one of those that big percentage of black women that lost their jobs last year. I'm one of them.
Wow. Yeah.
I got laid off our whole department. And my whole thing is, here you got these people still. He doesn't like anybody but rich people. Shut up. Sorry, it was a spam. He doesn't like anybody but rich people. So yeah, I tell my phone to shut up sometimes.
I got you.
The whole thing is, we got all these people, no matter what color they are, poor as all get out, thinking he actually gives a damn. I don't know how it is. It just blew my mind. And apparently I have overestimated the whole country because I didn't realize there were that many idiots. But I still think that that jackass from South Africa that has no business. I think he's illegal. And I think he did mess with that thing because it's ridiculous. The man was convicted 34 times.
Listen, I am not going to go by crowd size or what I think, but we did have on Sons of Liberty analysts who actually gave numbers and statistics and have introduced them to Congress and legal professionals who believe otherwise, who believe the same thing.
So if they prove wrong, can they kick him out?
So no. There is no mechanism for that except for impeachment, and he's done so many impeachable things that that's the best way to go. So before I leave, what I'm going to do is I want you, Mary Elena, to talk about your campaign. You're a woman running for office who's also on the left, who's also not bought and paid for, who's also a veteran. Tell us about your campaign, where you're going, and I want to give you that platform because it's important to me before we leave.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on again. Again, Maria Lander, and I'm challenging Corey Mills, one of the worst, most corrupt MAGA incumbents that we have in Congress right now. Even he is trying to be expelled from his own party, is trying to expel him from Congress. His own party is trying to push to get him off the ballot because of an administrative error. This is his corruption transcends party and is just blatantly incorrect. And he uses the backs of working class people to profit. He has domestic violence allegations. And we all know 1 in every 4 women in the United States experiences domestic violence. And it has no place in our representation in our Congress to just perpetuate and exalt a living nightmare for 1 in every 4 women across the nation. And so this race, the campaign that I've been running, I am the longest standing candidate, the only Democrat rejecting corporate and foreign interest money, the only working class candidate in my primary. And we have an average donation of $21, and we've raised over half. People are sick of elitism. They want a working class person because there's no change for our nation until we have a working class voice advocating for us and fighting for us. Gone are the days of strongly worded letters. We need somebody who is actively pushing and introducing improvements to our lives. And the entire year that I've been campaigning, we have been doing food drives, clothing drives, hygiene product drives, luggage drives. The luggage drives are for foster children. The clothing drives benefited homeless veterans, single mothers in the community here in Central Florida. And I think it's time that we also use our platforms. We use our campaigning. We use everything to uplift our community. It's time to elect people who put their money where their mouth is, which hopefully is for the working class community and not for foreign interests, not for APAC, not for corporations, insurance companies, or Wall Street. We need to recenter our politics, and that's why I'm running.
Where'd my girl go? There we go. Out daggone standing. People. The point of a roundtable is so that at the end of it, the reason why you have the differing opinions, the reason why it's supposed to be a round table, which goes back to the idea of the King Arthur, right? There's no one in charge. There's not a more important person sitting at the end. The idea of doing this in media is to inform the watcher, the listener. It's not to make you feel good about your damn self. It's not to make you feel like to buoy your spirit because you're on the right side. It's also not meant to give you disinformation or lie to you. It's you're supposed to grow from something like this. And if there's ever been a round table that you can grow from, it's been this one right here today. I want you to take a look at all of these women on this panel. And I feel privileged and honored and humbled by the talent, by the grace that's on this panel. All of you. Thank you so much for joining a little old channel like mine. I want everyone out there, you guys, check them out. Check out Chelsea Gods. Check out Neff with all the disrespect. Her channel on YouTube. And if you're in Florida in the 7th District, I think you got a fighter. I think you got a fighter here. And she's not paid for, not bought off. Thank you all for engaging with me. Thank you all for giving me that privilege of having you on here today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
That's me, Joe Sargent, on your left.
Go, 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 resist, resist, resisting, resist, fuck this shit's going down, that's right here, right now, the political drain, just the news you need, nothing driven by greed, no sipping Kool-Aid, Sims cooking on that knee, so then we got it again.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on www.groovechillradio.com/political-drain and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.